If you were wondering what on earth you saw, that was Cassiflava, an African street football game. The goal is to humiliate your defender in the most embarrassing way possible. You're probably thinking that wouldn't work in the top 5 leagues. Well, you're wrong. Half of these clips were in La Liga. There's one man who used to treat Champions League level matches like it's his playground. A man who would embarrass the best defenders in the game. A man who froze the whole pitch by toe poking the ball into the net versus Chelsea in the Champions League. That man is Ronaldinho. Every child wanted to be like Ronaldinho. He sprayed no-look passes and elasticos carefree. It celebrated his nickname El Gaucho for becoming FIFA World Player of the Year. His joy in playing the game is infectious, said then Barcelona coach Frank Rijkaard about Ronaldinho in the 2005-06 season. He has such high-level skills that everyone in the world adores him. One admirer was trying to break into Barcelona's first team. Meanwhile, the Brazilian terrorized top-class defenders. He looked up to Ronaldinho. He watched how he trained and lived. This young Argentine, Lionel Messi, would become the best footballer ever. Ronaldinho's impact on football goes far beyond helping Messi become the GOAT. He was so big that when he and his big brother went to jail for using fake passports, groups of kids would gather in front of the complex. They hoped to get in and take a selfie with the Brazilian. Most were too young to remember the famous number 10's World Cup win in 2002 or his Ballon d'Or triumph in 2005. Some say that talent-wise, Ronaldinho would have matched Pelé. But there was one thing that was his enemy. This enemy stopped him from becoming the GOAT. This is the crazy story of a man who ruled football before Ronaldo and Messi. He treated it like a side job. Ronaldinho won the 2005 Ballon d'Or. He played a style of football rarely seen at the pro level. Why is 2005 important? Because 2005 was the year that they created YouTube. Ronaldinho was the first ever person to get 1 million views on YouTube. He created the concept of viral video. My friend and I first saw YouTube videos of Ronaldinho. They showed him hitting the crossbar from any angle and doing amazing skills. Even my grandma knew how skilled Ronaldinho was. Ronaldinho's journey began in 1980 in the city of Porto Alegre. Situated in the deep south of Brazil, it's a city rife with corruption, crime, and social divides. As military rule faded, President João Figueiredo tried to appease the unhappy people. They wanted to change Brazil and start a new republic. Ronaldinho was 8 when his father died. Since then, he's been motivated to support his family. It would be left to Ronaldinho's brother Roberto, 9 years his senior, to help his mother provide for the family. Typical to the Moreira family, he did so in the only way he knew how, through his football. The youngster was impressing the Grêmio Academy. The coaches regarded him as a top prospect in the youth setup. Injuries, however, would end what promised to be a long top career. Watching his brother, his mentor and early coach, inspired Ronaldinho. He wanted to be an entertainer. He would see his brother juggle a ball like few could. His brother kept it up with all parts of his body. He moved it with such pace and precision that he had to follow suit. With his first pair of boots laced up, Ronaldinho would spend hours outside the family villa, keeping the ball in the air. He would play with local kids in the street. He always beat his marker and moved the ball in ways others couldn't. Street football would help strengthen the youngster, but it was playing on beaches and in futsal games that would hone Ronaldinho's incredible control. Futsal is played with a smaller ball, which means the ball doesn't bounce. The low bounce ball allows for faster plays. This improves your skills in tight spaces. Often playing as a striker, he would take as many touches as possible. His coaches and friends gave him free license to play without fear and with complete freedom. This is why football has always been such a joy for Ronaldinho. From an early age, it was symbolic of fun. It reminded Ronaldinho of his brother, his idol. It let him experience something that, since his first kick, has brought him the biggest smile. His smile is, of course, one of football's most enduring images. That was Ronaldinho. With Roberto now playing abroad after injuries ended his time at Grêmio, Ronaldinho was on his way to becoming a legend. He was also following his brother by joining the club's academy. He hit the local headlines at the age of 13 when he scored all 23 goals in a 23-0 victory for Grêmio's youth team. At 7, Ronaldinho joined their academy. He trained with the club, played futsal, then went to the beach. There, he joined organized games with older, stronger players. It didn't faze him. He would ride challenges on sand, nutmeg his opponents, and strike the ball. This confidence would later define his career in Spain. By 1997, Ronaldinho would be the brightest prospect in Brazil. He was making headlines across the country. People would now know his daring pace and tricks nationwide. He toured with the Brazil under-17 squad and Grêmio's youth team. It was with Brazil's under-17 team that the world would get its first glimpse of the young star. In a squad with Giovanni, Matusalem, and Jorginho, Ronaldinho was the star. His tricks and skill bamboozled his opponents. In a tournament that also saw Seydou Keita, Luciano Galletti, Sebastian Deisler, Iker Casillas, Javi, and Gabriel Milito make their name, Brazil bulldozed their way to glory on the back of Giovanni and Ronaldinho's attacking excellence. With his star rising, Grêmio manager Edinho had to act. He gave a senior debut to a talented prospect in a 1998 Copa Libertadores match. After some starts and a few bench appearances, it took until 1999 for the attacking midfielder to finally show his worth in the blue of Grêmio. After scoring 23 goals in 48 games in his first full season, Ronaldinho became Brazil's most coveted star, alongside his friend Giovanni from the under-17 squad. With great vision, the best set pieces in Brazil, and a hunger to improve, it's no surprise that big European clubs soon took notice. After 3 years, the time would come for Ronaldinho to test his might in Europe. Arsenal and Manchester United tried in vain to sign the forward. Ronaldinho, advised by his brother, wanted a club that allowed him to play often and adjust to European football. That club would be Paris Saint-Germain. As Ronaldinho headed to France, Giovanni made a £15 million move to Barcelona in 2001. The bright lights of Catalonia would quickly fade for one Brazilian, but they would shine forever for another. Ronaldinho's £5 million move to Paris didn't convince everyone. Some believed he should have stepped up a level and moved to the juggernaut that was Arsène Wenger's Arsenal. Some doubted if the weedy, frail-looking Ronaldinho would succeed in Europe. With Nicolas Anelka and JJ Okocha, he formed a top attack in Europe. While in Paris, Ronaldinho operated on the front line. He learned to collaborate effectively with his more famous teammates. His talent was never in question, but his ability to turn it into rewards was still up for debate. Ronaldinho's desire to learn and respect for football drove him to overcome his early struggles and become a regular in Paris. He spent much of his first season on the bench. He was learning the nuances of European football. He was perfecting his skills on the training pitch. Eventually, Ronaldinho became a key part of Luis Fernandez's team. It was a testament to Ronaldinho's ability. He struggled to assert himself in France, but scored 17 goals and 14 assists in 55 league games. Ligue 1, however, wasn't made for Ronaldinho in hindsight. The players around him lacked the quality to help the Brazilian. French football's aggressive nature meant opponents often manhandled Ronaldinho. Just ask Neymar. His impact in Paris was mixed. It had moments of genius, but the decision to go there proved a masterstroke. Ronaldinho grew used to the demands of training in Europe, the game's professionalism, and the quality of his opponents. Indeed, Ronaldinho himself has since stated that his time in Paris was essential for him to succeed in Barcelona. It was a risk to let Ronaldinho loose in the 2002 World Cup. Scolari had many better, more disciplined attacking options. Denilson, once the world's most expensive player, joined Edilson, Luizão, and a refined prodigy Kaká in the shadows. He then assisted Rivaldo, who broke the deadlock midway through the second half. Against England in the quarterfinals, Ronaldinho ran the entire spectrum of possibilities. In a game in which his speculative winning free kick eluded the embarrassed David Seaman and was ended with a red card 7 minutes later, it falls under the radar just how magical he was across the 57 minutes he graced the pitch in Shizuoka. In Yokohama, the final was arguably won the night before the game. Ronaldo, Rivaldo, and Ronaldinho lit up a gray, rainy training session. They put on a skills show at the International Stadium, a spontaneous display of beauty. Ronaldo stole the headlines, but Ronaldinho's selflessness helped create space for Rivaldo to carve chances. The three R's had written their names in World Cup lore. It was a glory that might have eluded Brazil without Ronaldinho's help. By 2003, Barcelona had offloaded Giovanni. He failed to adapt to the pressure of Camp Nou. Ronaldinho was ready for a new challenge. His greatest years would await. After promising David Beckham to the Culés, Joan Laporta had to settle for signing Ronaldinho for £25 million in July 2003. It would prove to be the greatest second-choice transfer in Barcelona's history. How ironic that he was the second choice after Beckham. Beckham was a 90s old-school player. Ronaldinho represented the future of the game, a new cycle of dribblers. What if Barcelona had signed Beckham and United got Ronaldinho? Would football be different now? Fortunately, he arrived at Camp Nou, and the rest they say is history. To grasp Ronaldinho's impact at Barcelona, check the club's wins. Look at the 5 years before his transfer, and the 5 years after. Between 1998-99 and 2002-03, the Catalans lifted a solitary Liga title. Between 2003-04 and 2007-08, they would win 2 La Liga titles, 2 Supercopas, and the Champions League. It would be a great disservice to those around Ronaldinho to say that success was due solely to the Brazilian, but his influence at Barcelona is undoubted. Many credit Pep Guardiola with sowing the seeds of dominance at Barcelona. Others go further back to Johan Cruyff. But the modern era of greatness for the club started when Ronaldinho walked through the Camp Nou doors. The Brazilian would score 94 goals and 69 assists in 207 games for Barcelona, all from the left flank. The figures are outstanding but tell only half the story. The best players are defined by their ability to stand up in the crucial moments. In these moments, with the stakes at their highest, legends are born. The margin between victory and loss is at its finest. It was these moments that defined Ronaldinho's Barcelona years. Whether it was a pass or a goal, his ability to open play in the tightest moments was inspirational. In the darkest times, Ronaldinho at his peak would give Barcelona hope. Who can forget his stunning effort against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge? With no backlift, he bent the ball around Peter Cech with the outside of his boot from 20 yards out. Chelsea may have progressed, but history only remembers that goal. It's that hope that so often morphed into joy. A bicycle kick against Villarreal. Of all his awards and team wins, few moments will stand out more than his virtuoso performance against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu in 2005. The Brazilian scored 2 goals and dominated the game. No Barca player had done that since Diego Maradona. The Real fans gave him a standing ovation as he left the pitch. Not even Messi has achieved that. It was the most honest of appraisals. We should cherish Ronaldinho's brilliance and his style. The Brazilian said after the game, "I will never forget this." Opposing fans rarely applaud any footballer. The season in which he dominated El Clásico 2005-06 marked his absolute zenith in the sport. Scoring 26 goals and assisting a further 23 in 45 games placed him among football's greatest. He helped Barcelona win both the league and the Champions League. He made an amazing assist to Ludovic Giuli's match-winning goal in the semifinals against the holders, AC Milan. With a Ballon d'Or and 2 World Player of the Year awards, Ronaldinho had few peaks left to scale. Perhaps that's why his form dipped and his motivation diminished after that season of the most consistent brilliance. At just 26, and now with his brother as agent, Ronaldinho would struggle to lift Barcelona to new heights. For some, greatness is only achieved after a prolonged stint at the top. That was never the case for Ronaldinho, however. Success was in enjoying the moment, in bringing smiles to the people. He had provided for his family and taken his friends on a ride in Europe. He had also conquered heights that must have seemed impossible in his early years in Porto Alegre's favelas. In 2006, the South American nation built an impressive squad full of world-class talent, and most saw it as unstoppable. But it would be Italy who lifted the trophy in Berlin. So, what happened? Ronaldinho was the world's best player. He won the 2005 Ballon d'Or. How could anyone stop this Brazil super team? Zidane would produce perhaps his greatest performance. At times, he mocked Brazil's invincible side. An excellent Thierry Henry volley from a Zidane free kick would be the difference as the French progressed. The Brazilians failed to rid themselves of the demons of '98. Angry Brazilian fans destroyed a 7-meter-tall statue of World Player of the Year Ronaldinho after the national team's defeat by France. Despite his fading motivation, Ronaldinho had a good 2006-07 season. He scored 24 goals and made 14 assists in 49 games. Barcelona lost the title on the final day. Their head-to-head record against Real Madrid was worse. Injuries slowed the Brazilians' electric acceleration. His final year in Spain ended with a whimper. Lionel Messi was now the star of a struggling Barcelona team. Frank Rijkaard left them unmotivated, and they needed a fresh approach. Pep Guardiola would provide that fresh approach after offloading Ronaldinho to Milan. Many questioned Guardiola's decision at the time. In hindsight, it was clear that Guardiola's high-pressing game did not suit Ronaldinho. His move to Milan saw the passing of a man who, alongside Maradona, Cruyff, and Messi, is one of Barcelona's greatest imports. His inspirational leadership in attack was his fearless play for the ball. He wanted it at all times. He believed above all in the team and the fans. Their glory was greater than personal glory. That's why he valued an assist as much as he did a goal. His legacy still resonates at the club. He mentored a young Messi. He instilled in him the self-belief to be Barcelona's key attacker. Ronaldinho's advice contradicted his actions, but it led to Messi's 8-year reign over European football. Above all else, fans will remember Ronaldinho's time at Barcelona with a smile, and his dance into legend. That was Ronaldinho. With hearts broken and eyes sore in Barcelona, Ronaldinho moved to AC Milan, joining a squad boasting the likes of Andrea Pirlo, Kaká, and Clarence Seedorf. Fans expected much in the coming season as the Brazilian lined up for the Rossoneri. Many believed, despite his weight and injuries, that £22 million was a fair price for a 28-year-old at his peak. With Carlo Ancelotti still at the helm and Kaká to play with, Ronaldinho had a good start at Milan. He wanted to prove his doubters wrong and recover his form from 2005-06. Injuries would unfortunately curtail his season, and recovering his fitness would prove difficult. Ronaldinho was the Milan squad's party boy. He could play a full 90 minutes, so the coach benched him at the end of the season. He scored 10 goals in 38 games. Ronaldinho was battling to restore his tarnished reputation. His off-field antics were hurting it. His skills on the pitch were also declining. There were still dazzling moments. His ability shone through at times. It reminded the world that form is temporary. His 2 goals against Juventus in January 2010 were a direct result of Ronaldinho moving from behind the striker to his favored left flank. With the freedom to come deeper and hold his width, the Brazilian played some of his best football in the middle of the 2009-2010 campaign. A hat trick followed his demolition of Juventus. His form continued into the latter stages of the Champions League as he netted against Manchester United. The former World Player of the Year was gradually regaining his form on the eve of the World Cup. A fierce patriot, it was a tournament Ronaldinho was desperate to head to. Milan's joint top scorer, he helped the Rossoneri to a disappointing third in the league. But his excellence had also earned him the most assists for the Lombardy Giants. His form would not be enough to win a place in Dunga's 2010 World Cup squad. Many lamented his exclusion as the death of Jogo Bonito. Ronaldinho's omission matched with that of Pato. Dunga believed the Seleção needed more energy and discipline and less flair. The quarterfinals eliminated Brazil. After a poor start to the 2010-11 season, Ronaldinho, his ego bruised, decided to leave Milan. He felt unmotivated to keep playing in Europe. He had thrilled a generation of fans and left an indelible mark on the continental game. Despite his ups and downs, he left Milan a hero. Most who saw him play respected and loved him. The twilight years of Ronaldinho's career summed it up. He moved from Brazil to Mexico and back again, before a final hurrah in Indian futsal. Fitness issues, poor form, and a weak drive to succeed dulled moments of flair. While that may have been infuriating for so many of his coaches, for us, the fans, it was what made him so special. He didn't play the game for a catalog of honors, he played football because it made him happy. The rest served as a bonus. It's that childlike innocence that made Ronaldinho so easy to love. From his early success in the 1999 Copa America as a 19-year-old and his conquering of the world in 2002. At Barcelona, Porto Alegre's most famous son faced highs and lows. He became known as the king of tricks and flicks. His years at Barcelona will live on through YouTube clips and memories. Over time, people will likely forget the lows. Ronaldinho could have won more as a footballer, but he will end his career at the top. He has 3 domestic league titles, a Champions League medal, a World Cup, and a Copa America. His list of individual honors is too long to list here. A quote by Lionel Messi draws me as a look back at his career. He said, "Ronaldinho was responsible for the change in Barca. It was a bad time, and the change that came about with his arrival was amazing. In the first year, he didn't win anything, but people fell in love with him. Then the trophies started coming in and he made all those people happy, like Steven Gerrard at Liverpool, Arrigo Sacchi at Milan, and Ariel Ortega at River Plate. Ronaldinho's talent deserved more. It probably ended with less, but that will never matter to him, nor should it to those who will make a judgment on his greatness. It's hard to measure greatness by silverware. It's often decided by others as much as anything else. Yet joy is much easier to measure. It's black and white. You either bring people joy or you don't. Ronaldinho did to millions of fans around the world. He transcended rivalry and achieved the happiness he set out for when he first laced a pair of boots. He was the joy. That was Ronaldinho. We have another video on the superstar Brazilian who is saving Ronaldinho's Joga Bonito legacy. Check it out now.